Hey, what's up, y'all? My name's Chris Abbott, but all my friends just call me Abbo. And in this video, we're going to be walking you through a couple of principles that are really important, I think, especially now with kind of the way the world is, right? And as we're all kind of trying to figure out the new normal and this hybrid church and kind of what that looks like, we're just going to talk about a couple of principles that every single leader in the church should be adhering to. So let's dive in and talk about how to be a good pastor leader coming up. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. If you are new to the channel, we are constantly putting out brand new videos every single day, 5 days a week, talking about church growth, social media, church leadership, and how to be a more effective pastor and reach more people for Jesus. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through a couple of principles I learned over the last few years. So we actually started a church network at my church, just kind of teaching some of the church growth things we've been doing at my church, and we ended up helping over 1,000 churches inside of that network, and they started seeing some really cool results like we were seeing. So I have a lot of videos that are actually covering some of the tactics and strategies that we teach to other churches. But in this video, I wanted to talk about some of the leadership principles that I kind of learned along the way as we built this church network from scratch, literally from the ground up. So let's dive in. All right, number one, good leaders lead, great leaders grow. Now, I actually learned this from Craig Groeschel. He also has an incredible leadership podcast. If you haven't checked that out, I definitely recommend that. But I think this is one of the things that it's easy, especially as we first get into ministry. We're always constantly reading, we're constantly growing. But what happens is, if you're anything like me, when you start to get so busy, right, and you've got everything going on, right, ministry's messy, right? We've got all these people, we've got all these things to do, we have all these demands on our time. And so what happens is you start to get so busy that sometimes it's easy to start focusing on all the things that need to be done, right? And to kind of forget your own growth. So you get so busy leading other people that you forget to lead yourself. And so I think it's really important to remember this principle, right? That good leaders lead, but great leaders grow. So it's important to set aside some time every single day so that you're constantly learning and making yourself better. Now, obviously, you're going to be in the Word every day. You're going to be spending time in prayer every day. But I recommend finding a great leadership book or a marketing book or a business book, right? Church leadership book, something that you can read for at least 15 minutes a day. That's going to help you constantly be learning new principles and growing yourself, right? Because we can't just lead other people, we also have to lead ourselves well. All right, principle number 2, learn the language of social media. Now, Tom Rainer says that if you fail to learn how to use social media effectively, it's like a missionary moving to a country and refusing to learn the language. Now, that kind of stings, I know, but I think it's really important, right? Like in this day and age where we're at now, we have to learn the language of social media, right? We have to at least be familiar with the new platforms that are coming up, right? And how to use those platforms and how to speak digitally and natively on those platforms. Because here's the deal, people talk differently on Facebook than they do on Instagram, right? They talk differently on Instagram than they do on Snapchat or TikTok, right? YouTube videos are a completely different strategy than Facebook Live. And so it's important to understand the nuances. It doesn't mean that you have to be an expert in every single platform, right? Who can keep up with that? There's so many new platforms coming out all the time. Things are constantly changing and evolving all the time, right? The algorithms are constantly changing, but it's important to learn the language of social media, to understand how to speak on every single one of those platforms, because that's where people are, right? That's where their attention is. Gary Vaynerchuk says that the currency of the world is attention, right? And right now we know that people's attention is on social media. I read a statistic the other day that said the average person is on social media over 2.5 hours per day, right? I mean, with the pandemic and the shutdowns and everything that happened, people just went more and more online and more digital. And so it's becoming increasingly more important for us to show up on social media and be able to learn the language. All right, principle number 3, the fastest way to increase your effectiveness is to cut your commitments in half. Now, I have to admit, I struggle with this one myself, right? Like trying to say no to some of the things, right? So that I can say yes to the things that matter. But as we all know, right? In ministry, things are always popping up. People are always adding stuff to our plate. They always need things from us, right? Like those meetings when people just kind of pop their head in and say, hey man, got a minute? Right? Like you get like 10 of those a day, and next thing you know, you got nothing done that day because of all the got a minute meetings. I've learned this over the years, especially as we were continuing to build that church network, right? The more things that I said no to, the more time I had for the things that really mattered, and I was able to be way more effective in those things, right? Sometimes we say yes to so many different things. So not only do you have your message you have to prepare for on Sunday, and not only are you leading your team well and you're raising up emerging leaders, but you also have weddings and funerals and things that are popping up, right? And there just becomes like a million things. So your to-do list just gets longer and longer and longer. And so one of the best ways to increase your effectiveness and to do it quickly is to start saying no to some of the things, right? A great way to do that too is there are some things that need to be done, but they don't need to be done by you. Right? So start asking yourself, man, who could do this at least 80% as good as I could? If somebody could do it 80% as good as you, then you should just offload that task to them and you should start delegating things. Right? Maybe you don't have to be the one that builds the PowerPoint slides for every single Sunday, right? Maybe you have some volunteers in your church who could come up and could help make copies or could work on some graphics for you, right? Or maybe you could go to like Fiverr.com and you could outsource some of the work. Maybe you don't have to do all of the video editing, right? Or all of the graphic design. Maybe you don't have to do all of the tech completely yourself. I'm sure there are plenty of people in your church who would feel really significant by being able to help you and take some of those things off your plate. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling anxious about all the things that you have to do, just take 5 minutes to sit down and think about who are some of the people that could help take some of those things off of your plate, right? And what are some of maybe the websites or services where you might be able to pay somebody even just $5 or $10 in order to accomplish some of those tasks for you. Fiverr.com is a great website for that. Freelance.com is another one. And there are several others out there where you can literally just either find somebody who is already doing the thing that you need done and they'll have a price for it, or you can literally just post a job and how much you're willing to pay for that job, and people will actually bid on it, and then you can choose the person that you think is going to do the best job. That might take a few minutes the very first time to start to post that job and to find the right person, but the great thing is once you find them, you can use them over and over and over again. So it's worth taking a couple of minutes, maybe even a couple of hours to figure that out the very first time, because what if you find a great video editor or graphic designer or somebody to build PowerPoint or Pro Presenter slides for you, right? So it's definitely worth taking a look at, and you're going to be way more effective because of it. All right, so before I get to my last 2 points, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we are dropping new videos every single day, 5 days a week. And if you subscribe and hit that little bell notification, then you'll get notified every single time we drop a new video. All right, principle number 4, the only limitations you have are the ones inside your own head. I think oftentimes as pastors and church leaders, it's easy for us to have way too much confidence in our own weakness, right? But man, what does the word say? The word says that in your weakness, his strength is made perfect. It's important to understand that a lot of the things that we see as limitations that are holding us back are actually our own unfair advantage, right? So the stories that you've been telling yourself about how your budget's too small, or you don't have the right building, or you're not in the right location, or you don't have the right leaders or the right resources, all those things that you could be looking at as limitations, right, can actually be your own unfair advantage. Now, Craig Rochelle says that limited resources are a breeding ground for innovation. I know I saw this in my own life a couple of years ago when I was in youth ministry. I had a youth group that was growing, and it was growing like crazy, right? I came into a church and took over the youth group. They were running about 65 kids every week, right? And in about 90 days, we doubled from 65 to 130. Right? So we're blowing and going. We got new kids coming in. It's awesome. But I had 4 youth leaders, right? So as I started to go through the church, I started to try to recruit youth leaders. Everyone either kept telling me no, or they just would say, man, let me pray about it, Abbo. And then they would just totally dip out and I'd never hear from them again, right? They'd avoid me on Sunday mornings and stuff. And so it became really, really hard to recruit youth leaders, right? But how many of y'all know you can't do youth ministry with 130 kids and only 4 leaders, right? So what we did is I actually took a look at this and said, man, one of the other problems that we're having is we do a great job reaching, 6th grade all the way up to 10th grade. But a lot of times what happens is when kids start to get their license, right, they tend to just kind of drop off in their junior and senior year. So I thought, man, what if we could find a way to use those juniors and seniors to re-engage them and also fix this problem I have with not enough youth leaders? So what I did is I started a youth ministry internship. And so I went to all of my juniors and seniors and I said, hey, here's what's up. You guys are going to become youth leaders. You guys are going to apply to become interns. You guys are going to show up early. You're going to stay late. You're going to help do ministry. You're going to help preach. You're going to help put together messages. We're going to open up a snack shop and we're going to run that like a small business, right? And but I told them, I said, every single one of you has to apply and we're going to put you through the ringer. We're going to make you do some things. And so, man, they loved it. We had about 15 kids that originally ended up applying to be a part of that internship. And I literally made them my youth leadership team, right? I think eventually we ended up having about 25 to 30 interns that were all made up of juniors and seniors. And I'm telling you, there's something powerful when you start to see high school kids, right? These 17 and 18-year-olds who are doing ministry and praying for the middle school kids, right? And now leading those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I'm telling you, it is game over. And so we ended up kind of finding something that ended up being this kind of secret sauce that literally it came out of limited resources. It came out of the fact that I just couldn't get anybody to help me out in the youth group. We ended up finding this incredible solution that actually ended up solving 2 problems. So what are some of the limitations that you have right now, right, that you can solve with a little bit of innovation? Because because, man, I agree with Pastor Craig, because limited resources are a breeding ground for innovation. And finally, number 5, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you're not happy with your church right now, the problem isn't you, the problem is your systems. Now, James Clear has a phenomenal book on this called Atomic Habits, right? But I think this principle is something that we all need to really understand as church leaders. If we want to be more effective, we want to be better pastors, better church leaders, we have to understand that we have to build systems in order to help facilitate growth. We have to build systems that help facilitate fellowship and discipleship, right? That bring new people in, because goals are great, but nobody hits their goals just because they make them, right? Like, you don't rise to the level of your goals just because you hit a goal of growing your church, right? You end up falling to the level of your systems. So if you can have systems in place to bring in new visitors every single Sunday, you can have systems in place to move them into some of your assimilation and getting them into your next steps class, small groups, volunteers, into your discipleship. Now we can actually achieve healthy, sustainable church growth because we have automated systems in place that walk people through the process. Okay, so if you guys like this video and you want to learn more about leadership, church marketing, church growth, man, I want to encourage you guys. We have a phenomenal Facebook group on Facebook called the Church Marketers Group. So I'm an admin in there along with Ryan Wakefield and a bunch of other incredible pastors and youth leaders. The entire CMU team is in there, right? And so we're constantly having conversations like this inside of that group. So I want to invite you to be a part of it. You can click on the link in the description below and go jump into that group, or you can simply go to Facebook, type in Church Marketers, and join the group from there. So hope you're having a phenomenal day. We'll see you soon.